Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make this Hooray! It's Your Birthday card using stamps from our sponsor, Rubber Stamp Tapestry. They just released a bunch of brand new peg stamp sets and unmounted sets, including this one here, the Hooray! It's Your Birthday set called Hootin' Sentiments, and also Hooray, which is really cute as well, and a bunch of other ones too. So I'll be using some of these new ones along with some of my older peg stamps to create this fun card. So when I begin to create cards, oh, by the way, check out pegstamps.com if you want to find any of these supplies, and also check out the video description and find out how you can save some money on your next order. So when I start off making a card, especially if I'm going to make a couple, is I will make my envelopes first. And I find doing this, I get really funky, bright envelopes, or you can make them so the paper's on the inside so you can mail them easily. But for birthday cards, I like to hand deliver them, and I love the bright colors. But the other reason I do this is because I'll end up with some scraps that I can use on my card itself. So that's what I did to begin this card. And I also wanted to show you one of the fun features of this card is a little pocket, and you can see I used leftover envelope paper for that. So, and leftover envelope paper for those little scallops on the side. So it's just a fun way to get a little more use out of your supplies. We're going to start off with a piece of white cardstock, and this is about 4 1/4 by 3 inches, and you just want to set that on your work surface. You might want to use a foam mat if you have an uneven work surface, but I found that my peg stamps and my unmounted stamps stamp fine on this desk. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to stamp this cute little owl from Hooray with a dark brown ink twice on my cardstock. So with these stamps, you get a little line, and it shows you the bottom of your element. So that's the owl. So I'll want to stamp that so it looks like the owl's straight up, and then the bottom is kind of where his feet are going to be. So I'm going to do that once on each side of my card, about halfway down. Now if he's a little crooked, that's fine. Just try to keep them fairly level with one another. So to make my banner, I need to have some guidelines, and I'm just going to use a pencil for that and a dinner plate. So what I'm going to do here is set my plate down so that that curve is going to just come right up to the edge of the owl's, like the bottom of the body, and then I'm going to use a pencil just to trace it. You can always erase this line later if it doesn't, match up perfectly with your stamping, because, nobody's perfect. Sometimes our stamping is not as precise as we'd like it to be, but there you can see that line. Try to draw it pretty light though, so you don't have to, so you might not have to erase it. And then we're gonna stamp a banner from the Party Time set, which is a great one for kind of adding elements to different things. And I'm gonna be using some pastel colored ink. I've got some lavender, some mint, kind of a bubblegum pink, and an aqua. And I think those colors are just really nice. I also have a plate with a wet napkin on it that I can wipe my stamps off in between. So what I like to do when I'm doing a banner or something that's somewhat symmetrical is start in the middle. So I'm going to start with my pink ink. And the registration mark on Party Time banner here, it's the corner. The line meets up at the corner, so you can kind of see where it's going to start. So if you're working left to right, it's pretty easy, but I do like to work from the center out when I am doing something symmetrical like this. And I got it a little crooked, but banners blow in the breeze. I don't think it's a big deal. And then I am going to do this blue one next door. And see, I'm a little off the line, but it's not that big of a deal. And we'll do this purple one here. And we'll do a green one on the other side of the pink. And we'll do a purple one here. So yeah, it's a windy day here in Bannerland, but I'm not gonna worry about it, that's fine. And then what I would do is take a brown pen, just a fine tip pen, and I would just draw a line connecting the banner to my owls. And I would just kind of connect each little banner piece so it looks like it's just blowing in the breeze, like it's meant to be that way. The owls are flying around with our little banner. And then I want to get the sentiment in because that's a pretty big element, so I'd like to get that in case I stamp it crooked, then I can do other things to balance it out. So this is Hooray, It's Your Birthday. Now this stamp set is really versatile because you could ink up half of the stamp, or you could actually cut the Hooray and It's Your Birthday apart if you wanted to have, have a more versatile stamp. So kind of keep that in mind as you're going, or just mask it, just ink up, one part of it if you want to. So I'm going to stamp that in between our owl friends here. There we go. And then I want to give, actually I want to give it kind of an all-around pattern. And I'm going to use this kind of starburst, which is a really fun kind of retro flair to it. I'm just going to stamp a random pattern in the background. And I find that if I do this earlier rather than later, I will do a much better job at getting a random pattern. I find that if I get too many elements down, then I'm always trying to stamp around them, and then things don't seem to line up very well. You know, they just look a little awkward. So doing that off the bat, right off the bat, is pretty good, I think. And then something else I want to do is a couple elements for some birthday icons. So I am going to use this layered perfect layering circle. It's one of the bigger ones, and I'm going to link all these things down below, so don't worry, you'll be able to find them. I'm going to stamp one over here in blue, clean my stamp. I'm going to grab the pink. Just make sure I got a good inky, and stamp one over here in pink, and then I can put my some of the new icons, like the ice cream icon. There's a couple new ice creams. I'm also going to use a cupcake from Party Time because that's really birthday-ish. I'm going to give that a second to dry though before I do that. And I'm going to grab this balloon stamp here from Party Time, and I'm going to do some balloons because balloons are very fun for birthday cards. And let's do a purple one, and maybe we'll do a blue one on the other side. We'll have 3 on each side. There, that's pretty fun and festive. And if you want to deepen any of the colors, you can go ahead and use colored pencils. I'm going to think about that, whether I want to do it or not, while I finish up my stamping. I am going to ink up this ice cream cone in my same brown ink. Now I haven't trimmed this because it's brand new, so I'm just going to be careful not to hit the edges with ink. Just, you know, stamp straight up and down. And I'm going to stamp this right in the center of that circle. And then I'm going to stamp the cupcake in the center of the other circle. This is a great design for getting to know your peg stamps and combining them to make a fun scene. And of course, don't worry if you don't have it perfect. This is handmade. It shouldn't have to look perfect. Now, with my pen, again, I am going to draw some lines from our balloon to our owl. And you could make the lines go through the balloons because they're transparent and all, but I think it looks better if you don't. And I am going to grab an eraser so I can erase that pencil line since I do have it going through the banner in a couple spots. I like to use a white plastic eraser for this because it won't mar your paper, and it's really gentle. So if you wanted to stamp on top of it, you wouldn't have like a weird area that was grabbing more ink. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab a white gel pen and add a few embellishments here. I want to add some white in the icing on the ice cream in my ice cream cone. And also I want to add a little bit of white in the icing of my cupcake. And I want to put some highlights on the balloons. Now they do have little highlights on them, but I just wanted to kind of make them a little bit brighter. And then I'm going to use colored pencils to add a little bit of depth and shading to the edges of my balloons to make them look a little bit more realistic. And I can also color in those icons that I stamped down below on these little areas here. I could make my candle pink. I can put some pink in the ice cream. Can add some yellow to the cone there, and to the flame, and I can add some yellow to my owls here. And I think I might do a little pink on their bellies, and you might do blue if it was a boy, or if somebody had a favorite color, do their favorite color. I'm not into gender stereotypes. Use whatever colors you like to use. Make them whatever colors you think your recipient would like. Okay, and then I think I will grab some blue to accent this balloon. So I'm just doing the edges to give it that kind of translucent balloon feeling. If you go over any of your elements and you feel like you lose the stamping, you can go over it with your brown pen. Even though it is going over colored pencil and it is a water-based pen, a lot of times it'll stick enough that it will, you know, give you that that look you're going for. And a little bit of green on the green balloons. Now if your design was a little off balance or you had a lot of negative space you didn't need, you can always trim this down, so don't feel like you have to keep the same dimensions if you don't want to. I'm going to ink the edge here of this, just to give it a little bit of a border. And then I am going to add some cute little crown brads onto my owls. I thought that would be a really nice touch. And I don't have my little mouse pad up here in my office to work with, so I'm just going to use that foam tape as my piercing mat, and I'm making a couple just little holes right above the owl's head, and I'm putting in my little crown brads. King for a day or queen for a day, right? It's your birthday. Okay, now it's time to put our card together. So if I do ink one element, a lot of times I like to ink the other elements as well. There is quite a bit of contrast between this paper and the background, so I think I'll leave this one the way it is, but I'll ink the other ones. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape to stick that down. I'd ink this if you wanted to, completely up to you. If you were on a white card base, you'd want to ink it because it would make it stand out a little bit more, but on a craft, I have enough contrast, I think. And then we have a little scrap of chevron paper that I'm going to use here. And sometimes I will keep my scraps of paper with the paper pad that they came with, and that way when I'm making a card, I can just grab like a scrap that matches if I'm not making an envelope out of that pattern, and that way I don't have to cut into a whole sheet if I don't need it. Now before I adhere this down, I want to get just a little bit of a scalloped edge, so I'm going to take this scrap of green and my decorative edge scissors. They're a moldy oldie, but I use them all the time, and I am going to just make a little strip of scallop, and then I'm going to cut this in half, and then I'm going to ink the edges so it will stand out against our background. Use every little scrap sometimes. If you like that paper, find a little way to use it. Find a little way to introduce that design in it. It looks really nice, I think. So I think I probably have enough, like if I have enough, yeah. I had my tape close enough to the edge that I could trap it in there fairly evenly. Need a little bit more tape on there to stick it down to my card. But nobody's going to see this. Nobody's going to see what's on the inside under those layers. They're not taking apart your card. You can totally cheat and use those little bits and bobs. And we will put that down there. And then this guy will go right on top, centered up. And that's pretty much it. We'll make our little pocket in a second here. I'll put that, hooray, it's your birthday. Isn't that fun? And I like that this card could be given to a child or an adult. I think it's whimsical and fun, and I think it would be appropriate for either. So now to make the cute little gift card pocket for the center, it's so easy. Just take your scrap of paper. Now this is, you know, a cutoff from an envelope, so it's about 4 inches by 12 inches. You certainly don't need that much. But I like to take probably, I would say about 6 inches, and I'm just going to cut that with my scalloped scissors because that kind of brings the, it brings the theme from the front of the card, carries it over to the middle. I'm going to cut that like that, just you know, cut it off at about 6 inches or however tall you want your pocket. It's up to you. And then I'm just going to fold it up. Actually, that's a little tall. I want to have a little more white space for writing a greeting, so I'm going to trim that off a little bit more. And I don't have to feel bad about that little waste because this was a scrap from the envelope. It's, you know, it's not, I'm not cutting into a fresh sheet of paper for that. So now let's have a look at that. Oh, I really like the way that looks. Now, if you wanted to, you could carry on the theme from the, with the green there, and you could do that little scalloped border coming out like we did on the front of the card. I think I'll do that. That would be really pretty. And since we're going on that craft paper, I don't think I need to ink it. I think it's going to be just fine. It's going to stand out just enough, and that will help balance the fact that this pocket isn't quite as wide. So to make the pocket, what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of my thin double-sided tape here, and the only reason I'm not using my tape gun is because that's downstairs in my studio, and I'm having the furnace replaced, so you can look forward to less noisy interruptions when the furnace comes on, because we that one finally bit the big one and we had to replace it. So we're gonna put that in there, and then I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the front of the card. Just put a little double-sided tape towards the edge. I'll put some at the top too, just so I can stick it right down after we get that in there. And we're just going to let that hang over the edge on each side. and we'll have a cute little scallop element there. And I like to carry my, I'm trying to line it up a little bit better than I did. I try to carry my themes like to the inside of the card if I am decorating the inside of the card, because it just makes it extra fun and special. So there you go. You could put some stickers on there if you wanted to, but that is definitely big enough to stick a gift card in, and you can write a little sentiment up there, and it takes up some of the space on the inside of the card if you can't think of what to write. I hope you enjoyed this card. I think these are great to have on hand. Gift card holders are always good to have on hand because you can always grab a gift card pretty quickly or have a couple on hand if you forget a birthday. So it's just a really good thing, and sometimes you can't think of what to get somebody, so a gift card doesn't gather dust, and it's always a nice gift. Thank you so much for watching today. If you want to find out about the supplies I used, check out our sponsor, Rubber Stamp Tapestry. You can find them online at pegstamps.com, and don't forget to check out the video description and see how you can save even more money on your next order. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Until next time, happy crafting.